Good afternoon, True Crime Talk Tarot friends. So today we are going to be doing our classes on the elements, which are going to be water and air. Last time we did fire and earth. So after we get past these two elements, I want to thank y'all for being here too, by the way. But let me make sure everybody got the link too, because I think some people said that it didn't work for them, but I think it had to go live first. Okay. So, hey Jay, how are you? So let's see. So I took out a few cards, kind of like we did last time, Jay, to just kind of like show you. They're not major, all cards are major importance in the tarot, especially when they go together. But this would be more of like a can't really think of the word right now. More like a suit kind of card, I guess. There's a major, minor, suits. Basically, this is the Ten of Swords. So it's basically showing you what it is. So swords are thoughts. So a lot of time it's saying that it's kind of like the death cycle, but it's the death cycle when you're playing with someone's head. So that's what I'm going to use for the air signs. So I'm going to show that's kind of going to be the cards that I'm going to pull out. Hey, Lisa. And again, I'm sorry to hear about your friend. But we will go ahead, like I said, I'll give you a call a little bit after this. We do have a live tonight that we were going to do to kind of just have a girls' night, but I'll talk to you in between that. So we'll go ahead and get started off, though, with, I guess we'll go first. The first in line is Gemini, really. Now, all the airs are going to be Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. So, and the water signs are going to be Pisces, Cancers, and Scorpios. But I'm going to go in order as they go in the astrology order. I will, obviously tell you which one it is when we get there. So I don't know if you want to maybe write air on a piece of paper and then just write water. And so that way, but maybe most people who kind of done tarot for a little bit or watch it, they kind of know which signs go with which. But again, if you don't, like I said, I'll repeat it again if you want to write it down. So when we get to that part of the area in the books, then you can go ahead and but air signs are going to always be Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. Those are air signs. And then your water signs are going to be your Pisces, your Cancers, and your Scorpios. So those are always going to stay the same. Now, when they rule your sun sign, that has to do a lot with how you handle things, how you go about putting things in order. Your moon sign has a lot to do with how you react to certain things, correct? So, okay. So we're going to start off with Gemini. Does anybody have any questions before I start off, Jay or Lisa? Does anything else, or do you want to just go ahead and get straight into the signs? So we can kind of, because there are, again, kind of like last time, I think there's 6 signs. So I think it took us about 2 hours to get just through some of the little things, but I don't mind. Like I said, we can do as long of it as you need, but I just didn't know if y'all had any questions before I start going into the Gemini, the air sign. No questions? Okay, Lisa. All right, so we're going to go ahead and go into Gemini. I think Jay will probably be okay with that. Let me see. I already have it all marked off this time. Okay, let's get straight into it. I agree. So, all right, so we're going to be talking about Geminis. They're the air sign first. All right, so they are known as the messengers of the zodiac. And the reason why is because they are also known as the twins. So it's like split personalities, kind of. So a lot of times when people know Geminis, they'll kind of tell you, like they're the ones who will kind of like yell at you but laugh at the same time, and it freaks you out because you don't know if they're serious or if they're just like, you don't know, they can be very, very misleading in the way they handle things sometimes because they have that very pull between the two. They're basically yin and yang put into one body. So they are the opposite sign of Sagittarius, though. So they do technically are supposed to get along with Sagittarius. That's pretty well. So they are the third sign of the zodiac in the they rule the third house, and they are also ruled by Mercury, which is also rules Virgo. So that is kind of why Gemini's a lot of time with the Magician is put together with the Magician card. Mercury rules the mind and the thoughts and how someone thinks, processes, and handles things. So usually when people are usually ruled by Mercury, are going to be your people who like to go to school, who like to continue to keep learning, things like that. Those are going to be your people who like to do that. So when a Gemini has gone right, these people are usually the most interesting people in the zodiac, to be completely honest. They are very all outgoing. They like to do everything. Like I said, they're one of those ones where you can literally walk in, or they'll walk in and say, hey, let's go, jump out of a plane and, go skydiving or something all of a sudden. And they're like, okay, sure, let's go. You know what I mean? Like, or they'll come in and ask you to do it, and you're like, I don't know about that. And they're like, oh, come on, don't be a wuss. You know what I mean? Like, that's going to be your Geminis most of the time. Like I said, these are all going to be your light-sided Geminis who are excited to do those type of things. They love life. They love going out. They love being in nature. They love just being out of the house and being kind of in the mix of things. Not in always a bad way, but they just like to be out and social. So they're constantly trying to find new experiences. They're always learning or adding to their trades. Hello, Melanie. How are you? I'm glad you can join us. But they are very actually, again, because they are ruled by Mercury, much like Virgo, they think a lot. So they are very much like Virgos, where they will kind of, a lot of times, most ancient philosophers usually are ruled by Mercury. Because of their quick razor sharp thinking and the way they can kind of put things into order. And that also goes with earth signs almost as period too. Now there's some signs, all signs have intelligence, but they all use them differently. So it depends on what your sign runs and how you use it. But as far as the earth signs rule the earthly realm, and also the air signs, which maybe I should have put the air signs and the earth signs together last time instead, but they do run the mind a little bit. So they're very good at manipulating people. Very, very good, air signs. I'm not saying it's always if it's for the, I don't want to say if it's for the right reason, but if somebody's doing something that's not going to lead them to the best path, and you're doing what you can and they're not listening, so you tell them this to get them back on the right path, it might be a little bit of a white lie. Those are going to be the people that that kind of happens with most of the time. They get off their paths very easily because they have especially Libra. Libra is the scales. So Libra has a very hard time at being able to make decisions. So that is their karma. But we'll get back to the Gemini again with having the razor sharp minds. And that's how they end up, becoming philosophers, writers, negotiators, things like that, adding their education. They're also born to be very good negotiators. They're very, very good at being that middleman and kind of, like a quality control kind of thing, I guess. Like if people are having problems, they can go ahead, and they are good at playing a mediator to kind of balance out the situation, if that makes sense. So these are the people, though, again, they can kind of like they can convince you a lot of the times, like depending on what it is too, and what they're wanting and all those things. But they're very good at convincing people to get what they want. And that if you don't do what they want or say, then you're not really following the thought process that they have, because again, they are ruled by Mercury. And they know that. They're very well aware of their intelligence. So they use it against people sometimes. That can be when they've gone wrong. So Gemini people can feel a shot of pure surprise when they're surrounded by people. When they find a group of people that adores them, it is like the most like uplifting thing to them ever. Because again, Geminis are two different people, kind of, in a way. They are the twins. So I mean, you kind of have that pull, you know what I mean? You're going both directions. So that's kind of why they, like, one side might like attention a lot more than the other side. So there's going to be your people who go into hermit mode and recluse a lot. Because for 1 week, they might have this whole, like, oh, I want to talk to everybody, get with everybody, be social. And the next week, they don't really feel it. You know what I mean? So you might not hear from them as much that week. So, but again, they are great multitaskers. They are very intelligent. They are very, they're very sharp and quick. They're very sharp and quick with their comebacks. And a lot of times when this is, when it's gone wrong and it's gone too far, they are very good at saying things that will dig at you, that they really know is going to get to you. So, now John F. Kennedy actually was a Gemini. So they're also saying that is a great example of a Gemini, John F. Kennedy. His brilliance and how popular he was, the popularity, how much people loved him, that is a Gemini. People love Geminis most of the time. Like I said, Geminis usually have a lot of friends. They have a couple of friends. Again, this all depends on your other signs in your Earth chart, or in your birth chart. But for the most part, they get along with a lot of different groups of people that you wouldn't even think would connect together. So they are much like that. They get along with a lot of people. So, but, unfortunately, there is that, again, we're going to always touch on the dark and light side of each sign. So whenever Gemini tends to go wrong, they get bored very easily. That's why I was saying they're always those ones that are like, let's get up and go and do something like out of nowhere. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like, I don't want to go skydiving out of nowhere. You know what I mean? They expect you to want to. And then if you don't, it's almost like, oh, there's something wrong with you. You're boring. But sometimes that kind of the impulsiveness kind of gets them in trouble a little bit because, they always tell you to think before you jump or think before you speak. And sometimes they don't do that. And it's just because they love that impulsive nature of being able and learning new things and being exposed to new things. Hey, Spee, how are you? But they love being exposed to things. You know what I mean? So that is another reason why they can sometimes be misconstrued as gone wrong. Again, because like I said, they get bored very quick. And so when they do, they kind of take off. They're flighty. You kind of like Aquarius is, which is another air sign. Libras will take off, but you kind of hear from them again. They'll never completely disappear. A Gemini, when they've gone wrong, can also be known sometimes by others to act a bit ignorant and be scatterbrained. They kind of act like they know better than everybody else, or they act like they don't know what's going on, or they act like, again, they don't know what's going on. Like, kind of like, you can tell them something, but if they're doing it to spite you, or not doing it to spite you, then they'll pretend like they never even heard you tell them anything, or that you're just like completely delusional and none of that ever happened. I've actually met a few of them that do that. Not all do that, but that is a trait of when they can go dark. And they can also be a bit shallow sometimes when they're dark, in the sense of they feel that the person I knew that was a Gemini, it's like they always, even though they were like 10 or 15 years younger than me, they seem to always think that they knew better than everybody else around them. I mean, they thought they knew it better than their own parents. And I mean, it's kind of like that type of thing. They get very shallow in that sense. They think that everything that they do is right and everything that everybody else does is wrong, and they have the right answers to everything. So that is a Gemini gone wrong, though. So they like to gossip a lot of times too when they're in the dark side, and they can be downright ignorant and a bigot. They will do things that that they basically say that other people should not do. Air sign. And again, I'm going to clump it with air signs because a lot of air signs do carry this. But we are talking about Geminis at the moment. You're May 20th? I believe you're a Taurus. I can look it up in a second when we're done going through the classes. When we get to the end of it, if you like, Carla. But you should be a Taurus. Again, though, I'm not really sure I do astrology, but I did not memorize the days they switch. The only reason I know when mine switches is because my birthday sits on a cusp. So it too depends on if you believe in cusp, because if your birthday sits on the day where it switches, then you're probably a cusp. You're probably both. So, I mean, that's something that's a whole totally different thing that we can get into if you'd like. Some astrologers will tell you cusps don't exist, but they do. So, again, we'll get back to Gemini's gone wrong. Again, they can be flighty and they don't really want to concentrate on what they need to work on. So, and that is when they're in their dark energy. They really just don't want to hear anything negative, because they're trying to go into their Mercury and use their mind and figure out it's kind of like how Virgos are. Virgos don't really, it's not that Virgos can't take criticism. The thing is that they criticize themselves constantly, more than anybody else would ever know. And so does a Gemini. So when somebody else does it, it's like they already know that it's a problem. And so they already are working on it. So it's almost like somebody reinforcing what they already know. So that's why sometimes they get a bad rep about not being able to take, someone's advice or constructive criticism, depending on how the person gives it to you. But, again, that is a rap that they get sometimes, like I said, and it's more or less because they already know what they need to work on because they introspect a lot with Mercury. So, I just want to make sure I word this right for y'all. Yeah, it's another thing too that, and I'm trying, and the reason I'm going to sum it up the best I can. If a Gemini is upset with you, even if you are right, they will kind of do anything to make it sound as if you're not. You know what I mean? They're going to make it sound as if they're going to twist it and say you don't know what you're talking about, or you're saying things that aren't true, or things like that. You know what I mean? That's just something that they do. Again, but that is because of their double-sidedness, the yin and the yang within them. It's a pull. It's almost like they can't stop it. You know what I mean? Like it's not that they can't stop it. They can stop it, but again, it's just a trait that their sign carries. So, is it the 17th? Yeah, so I'd have to look exactly when everything switches because, again, I do more crime astrology and things like that. I don't so much do love, or I can do general, readings for love and astrology and all that. But most of my clients that come to me usually come to me for crime cases. But I do both, so I can help you with that. If you're curious about the cusp and all that kind of stuff, I understand all that. I more talk about crime, and then that's why I'm doing these classes now. Is because I want to be able to show y'all how everybody's particular sign, everybody has a dark and light side, and how far you let it go, and then what you can do to improve yourself, and that will also help your growth whenever you get ready to start doing pendulums and crystals, tarot, oracles, whatever it is that you're interested in. Yes, you'll also have a rising moon sign. Like I said, there's 12. Your chart is made up of 12 signs. So you have a sun, a rising, and a moon sign. So those all are the three major signs that affect it, and also your Venus is a big one that affects it, as well as your Saturn. So Capricorn and Saturn is considered exalted. So if you have Capricorn and Saturn, that is basically the war planet. So you're not going to be pushed over easily. In Venus, you're going to be more attached to your family. Your moon sign is going to be more how you react to people and your behavior and your personality. Your rising and your sun sign is going to be more how you go and conduct about your life. So, anyways, we're going to go ahead and move to the Geminis, going right here. They're very quick-witted, like I said before, and they are very agile. They're very quick, and on their toes are very smooth, and they're very analytical. So again, this is somebody you can, if you like to sit down with somebody and like have a very, very intelligent conversation, and it not be like a one-upping conversation, a Gemini is a perfect person to speak to tell you the truth. Now, do they get a little bit big-headed about some things that they know? Yes, but I have to give it to them because they are part of Mercury and they do introspect a lot. A lot of the times they do research their stuff very well. So they're usually not going to say anything about something they don't know nothing about. So they'll kind of say, I don't know nothing about that. I don't want to speak, because they don't want to come back and make them look dumb later. You know what I'm saying? Or feel dumb later. So But again, with Mercury, ruling, being the planet that rules them, they're very mental. They are very. They rule all of the mental realms or mental, areas of the human body, which is your brain, and they're very intellectual. So, like I said, they're very good, and they're absolutely fantastic at communicating, much like Virgos. Virgos are very good at communicating with Gemini because they are ruled by Mercury, which means they put their words together very, very easy. Or they are able to, if you listen to a Virgo, example here, I'm a Virgo, I will say the same thing 5 different ways. And the reason I do that is because I want to make sure, because I know sometimes I might hear something from somebody and I'm like, oh, I didn't take it that's not how I understood it. So I want to make sure that everybody understands it the same, so that we're all on the same page. So sometimes I might say something like 5 times and people are like, oh, that's annoying. Geminis do that too. And it's only because they want to make sure everybody's on the same page. So they are very open-minded. They love to learn new things. They love to bring in new people, like always join new groups. And actually, they love to keep adding on to their career. So they refuse to be dragged down by anybody, like at all. And they're always looking at the bigger picture of what's going to happen in their life. So if you, for whatever reason, aren't delivering to them what they feel they deserve or what's going on, then they will move on to the next person who they feel is going to do that for them, and they will do it very quickly. They can do it overnight, and but again, that's that's a lot when they're younger. I've noticed as they get old, of course, as everybody gets older, they calm down. But I've noticed a lot of the younger Geminis that I know that were in their 20s, like if they didn't want to talk to somebody anymore, they kind of just would cut them off. They really wouldn't, they would just stop calling them or answering them or responding to them. So, and they pretty much do that with everybody. It's not like a one person thing or individual thing. Exactly. Geminis love to learn, much like Virgos. Like I got teased forever because I went to college for 10 years to learn 5 different subjects just because I wanted to keep going. I've actually been thinking about going again just to go to learn some shit. You know what I mean? I like to learn. But with everything going on right now, that's not an option. But again, Geminis, again, they're very intelligent. They're very smart and they're very quick and they're very quick-witted. So like I said, they do like to learn. So if you have a strong Gemini within your family or your chart, then just remember to make an area for them where they are able to learn and grow and they don't feel constricted. Because once a Gemini feels constricted is when they're going to start like really pushing back. That's a lot what air signs does. They do not like to feel controlled or told what to do. So see what else they have. They are very imaginative. They're very original, and they articulate themselves very well. Again, going with Mercury. Yeah, it's like I'm obsessed with learning, Jay, and that's an earth sign trait too. And then, like Ace B was saying, a Gemini trait because of Mercury. Earth signs and Geminis, at least that I know of, they will go to school their whole life, and so will Leos. Actually, my grandpa was 60 something years old, and he was still taking 60, 70 something years old. He was still taking college classes just for fun. He would he'd go learn Spanish just so he could learn Spanish at 70 years old. Like he knew more Spanish than what I did. He was a Leo. So I'm saying a lot of it just depends on what else goes into your chart, But I said, your moon, your sun, your rising, your Venus, your Saturn, your whatever, but your Jupiter, all those things. But again, there's a lot of signs who continue to like to learn. Hey, Dining Gypsy, welcome. We're talking about Geminis right now, so we're just at the first person. So we're talking about them in love too. So when Geminis are in love, they like to be not only lovers with their lover, but they also want to be friends. They do want to feel that, again, not only can they be a lover with this person, but they can share things with them as if they're the friends. So most of the time, when people are married, I don't know if you said HB, your husband's a Gemini. Most of the time when people are married to Geminis, they're very inspired by them. Geminis, again, they constantly want to learn. They're constantly adding to their credentials. Hi, Darlene. They're constantly adding to their credentials. They're constantly adding to a lot of other stuff. So, yeah, I do think that that makes a big difference as far as in love. So, they want to feel like not only can they come home to the lover, but they can come home to their friend. So that's a lot of what they look for in a relationship with somebody, which is good because you want to be able to have a friendship with your lover. That's important. So they communicate very well whenever something's going on. So again, they are known for their communication skills, much like Virgo. They run by Mercury, so and a lot of times they can be harsh. It comes off like Virgos when they say certain things, but at least they're speaking for me as a Virgo. And I mean, I don't know about other people. Again, I am Virgo Sun, Virgo Rising, and Aries Moon. So speaking for me, as far as Virgo, things can come off harsh sometimes, and then I don't realize till after it sounded a bit harsh, and I'm like, oh, that's not how I meant it, you know? But Geminis have that problem too sometimes. Sometimes they'll say things and it sounds very blunt, but it's not meant to be mean at all. At all. Like nothing is meant to be mean. There's no ill will. It's just the way they say it. You know what I mean? So that's another thing to remember if you're in a relationship with a Gemini. If they say something that comes off a little bit, harsh, sometimes it's not even you. It's just the way they're looking at the situation. So the good thing about them in a relationship is they don't take it too seriously. They take it seriously upon the point that, of course, this is who they're married to. They're going to respect them. They're going to do all that kind of stuff. But they don't take it so seriously that they're going to throw their whole relationship over something that's not that big of a deal. Yeah, that's how my grandpa was. Well, my grandpa was a fire sign, but again, he had a lot of other parts of his chart that were made up of, other signs. But again, up until he got cancer, he went to college till he was like 70 something just to learn Spanish. He took cooking classes. He even took swimming classes. So I'm just saying, like, it was just to be out, they're very career oriented and goal, they're very career goal oriented. They make sure that when they pick a career, most of the time they'll stick with it through most of their life, and they'll continue to add on to their credentials with it. And they're very, very proud of their job. They don't like anybody talking about their work. It's kind of like Virgos. They work very hard on what they do, or any earth signs. Again, because Virgo is an earth sign, so that kind of combines them together. And like I said, but Virgos and Capricorns more than Taurus, though. Taurus is kind of more the flighty of the three. But Virgos and Capricorns, they don't like to be dared about what they do and what they know. Because they know that they've done everything that they could possibly do to, prove that they got their facts down. So that is very much a Gemini. Gemini is going to rub facts in your face, and it will be facts. So that's the only thing about that. They're not going to play that shit slinging contest stuff. They're going to tell you like it is. So yeah. Well, when a Gemini's together, it's basically like four people being together, two Geminis, because a Gemini is a twin. So it's two of them. So if you got a Gemini with a Gemini, you got about four people going on in that relationship. So I'd imagine they probably do get along pretty well. I mean, I don't know how long, I would think they get along pretty well because their yin and yang are going to balance out each other. So whatever their yin and yang is that they have their struggle with is going to be balanced out by the other person's yin and yang. So that actually might be the best situation for them. But like I said, I dated a Gemini though, like I said, and again, he was younger. So that's just my experience. I don't know what his moon was. I don't know what his rising was. So I can't speak about all that. But from my experience with the Gemini, he was very much a know-it-all at times. And I was quite a bit older than him, and I think that's what bothered me about it. It was kind of like, it's one thing to sit down and have a grown discussion, but it's another thing to sit down and basically tell everybody else why they're wrong and you're right. So, hi, Nikki. So we're going to go ahead and start on Cancers now. So Cancer is known as the guardian, also the mother of the zodiac. That's what the Chariot card represents. So I do have that card, I think, over here. Let me grab it. Did I grab that? Okay, so it's going to be the King or the Queen of Cups for the Queen and the King of Cups. So 1 second. Let me just find them for you. And I'll show you their cards. All right, so this is going to be your water, King and Queen. So basically, this is going to represent your Cancers. It's Cancer, Scorpios, and Pisces. This is going to be, I said again, water signs. King of Cups, Queen of Cups. So it's always going to be your water signs. Again, this will represent Cancers, Scorpios, and Pisces, the water signs. But we're going to go ahead and talk about Cancer at this moment. So Cancer is the guardian, but they are also known as the mother of the zodiac because they are the most caring out of all of the water signs. And actually, they're the most passive. The other two of the water signs are very aggressive compared. Again, like I kind of said, how about the Taurus? Out of the earth signs, very flighty. Out of all of the fire signs, Aries is the most flighty. And then with the air signs, I know Gemini can be flighty, but I would have to say Aquarius is the most flighty. It's just once Gemini is done with you, they're done with you, pretty much. That's all that is. But anyway, so we'll get back to Cancer again, the mother of the zodiac, and that is the guardian. It represents it looks like 69, the symbol 69. It is a water sign, and it is the fourth. It's the fourth zodiac sign, so it is in the fourth house. So therefore, it is ruled by the moon. Now, the moon is also known to keep secrets, though. So that's why whenever you pull the moon card, and I usually will say that it is the Cancer. The moon is the moon card is the Cancer or the mother of the zodiac, the Cancer. I think I took the moon card out. Let me see. Might not have, but yeah, here it is. The moon. So this is going to represent Cancer. And as you can see, there's a crab on it. And the crab represents Cancer. And they're howling at it because it's a bunch of secrets. It's things that shouldn't be going on. But again, it does represent the mother of the zodiac. So Cancer is usually known as the most kindest, the most sensitive, and most nurturing of all of the signs, especially of the water signs. And they have a very, very, very great gift for art. And they are very intuitive. Very intuitive. I think sometimes they are more than they even realize. And I think once they do sometimes, I think it scares them just a bit because they don't realize how intuitive they truly are. So, but that role is given to them. You know, it is a water sign. And by that, they're ruled by the moon. The moon rules water, the pool of what is it? The tides is pulled by the moon. So that's why water signs are run by the moon. So it's they're all about emotions. That's basically what water is. Water is nothing but emotions. That's why water is flowy and it moves. So that's why I said that's why it represents emotions. So and again, their other fellow water signs will be Pisces and Scorpios, but Cancers are extremely attuned into emotions of others, and not only others but their own. So that's why they're the most quiet and they're the most recluse out of all the water signs. They don't really like to go out a lot. They're very much homebodies. They enjoy it. They usually like art, music. They're very good at it. And like I said, they're very much homebodies. They don't like to be involved in drama or other people's stuff. So out of those out of the water signs, cancers do stay to themselves the most. But again, they're thinking the whole time. They're very smart and they're very good with their words. Cancers are. They're very genuine. They're very sincere. And they can be generous to a fault. So if they're very generous, but if they feel that you've done something that's wronged them and their family in any way, there again can be another sign depending on what other signs are in their chart. At least the Cancer I know, once they're done with you, they're done with you. And if they do talk to you again, it'll be very many years before they decide to. So, most of them have very great senses of humor. They can be very good comedians as well. Like I said, as well as, they play in bands. They're very good musicians. They're very good artists. So those are all things that Cancers are very good at. And they're very, very family oriented. That is about all they care about is their family. And that is why they are given the moon, which is the mother of the zodiac. That's why they are given that title, because whether they be man or woman, in the relationship where they have the children with their spouse, they will always be the more mothering type out of the spouses. Even if the mother is mothering, then you basically get two super mothering type of people. Like I said, that's just the way they are. Like I said, they like to be by themselves for a while. They like to be with their thoughts. Like I said, they very much are like Virgos in that way. They introspect a lot. But I think it's because their emotions get overwhelming at times. And I don't think that they really... like the Cancer I knew, it took them a long time to ever believe in any of the spiritual stuff. And then now that they do, they've come to a whole new part of it to where they accept a lot more. Whereas before... they were interested in it, but you could tell they were kind of like, what's this all about? You know what I mean? But now it's like, oh my gosh, can you do this for me? Can you do a reading for me? Can you tell me what this means? So it's like, I'm just saying, like, they're very open-minded. It just takes them a while to come around. Hi, Jeannie. How are you? I think I made it unlisted, but I guess I didn't. I don't know. I don't care if anybody joined in, but like I'm just saying, so... if there's anybody that comes in and starts problem, I apologize. I might have forgot to click unlisted. So, how do I find? I put if I'm a cusp or anything special like that. You really would have to look up signs, because if you do it in your birth chart, Lisa, it's not going to tell you because they don't write cusp. But like for example, my birthday is August 24th. So the day it switches is August 23rd. So usually if your birthday is 2 days before or 2 days after the change for the zodiac sign, then you're a cusp. So that's kind of how that works. I mean, as far as I know, like I said, I had the dates written down for the cusp. I don't have them with me because I didn't plan on talking about the dates of the cusp, but that is how you find them. You just look and see what dates they change, and if your birthday falls within those 3 to 4 days, then you're that cusp. So, now Cancer's gone wrong. They can manifest insecurities, and they can kind of feel sometimes that people are picking on them when they're not. And they can be very, very overly sensitive. Well, I wouldn't put you unlisted, Booze Love. I was talking about this chat was supposed to be unlisted for all of us to learn without being interrupted. But as long as that goes along smoothly, then I don't have to worry about that. But yeah, I mean, as long as you're not here to cause any problems, then you're more than welcome in the chat, of course. But like I said, with Cancer's gone wrong, like I said, they can manifest insecurities, and they are very overly sensitive at times. And sometimes they can get upset and you don't even know what made them upset. And then you try to ask them why, and they kind of like it takes them a while to be ready to say what made them upset. So let's see. They also can be easily swayed. Again, and this is because it's water. Water is flowable. So again, they're very easily swayed by what's around them and thoughts and people and behaviors. So if they're not strong-minded in their beliefs and someone comes along and tries to change that, then they're more than likely going to sway to that if they're not strong in their beliefs. Yeah, and the biggest lesson basically is to not let that happen. Not let that happen, and to basically have self-control and self-mastery so that that doesn't happen, because they do have such a hard time with that. They're I don't want to say they're people pleasers, but they just don't want the confrontation. They don't like confrontation at all. So it's not so much that they want to make somebody happy, but they just, and they make anybody happy at any cost. They just don't want to argue about something that they feel isn't going to be relevant, 5 days from now. So they'll avoid the conversation. Did you, Lisa? Oh, thank you, Booze Love. I greatly appreciate that. Cancers being followers, is that what you mean, ACB? I said they can be. They can be followers, but it's because if they get too on the dark side and they're not sure about their emotions, they kind of don't know which way to go. So they kind of just see from the outside what looks like is working best for maybe their fellow group of friends or whatever goal it is that they can reach, and that's what they go for. So that's what kind of makes them look like followers, but it's more like an insecurity type of thing. Just because, I guess, again, like I said, they're very, very, very smart and very whatever, but they're very hard on themselves, like, as far as being sensitive and things like that. Like, they'll let something eat them up for days and days and days. So, I mean, and that's one of those things where it's like, you're just letting this person live rent-free in your head and basically, kind of destroy your thought process. And you don't really want that either, And so, but let's see. So with cancers, again, gone wrong, they can manifest, insecurity, and they are overly sensitive, and they're easily swayed, which we said. Actually, though, Princess Diana of Wales, she was a Cancer. So that is a form of a Cancer. A very good example of a Cancer. She was very soft-spoken. When she said something, she meant it, and you could tell she wasn't going to sway her thoughts. Oh, I'm sorry. I know I had to change my page name, and I do apologize about that. But we're back to our own routine now, so I'm glad you were able to find your way back. And I'm glad you could be here to join us for this, Boo. But again, if you look at Princess Diana, she really didn't want to go by the rule book. And that's kind of how Cancers are. Again, out of the 3 water signs, Cancers are going to be the one that stray the most from the way the other 2 behave. Like, if their parents tell them, oh, you can't move out to California and become a musician, that's never going to happen. You know how many people try to do that? Guess what that Cancer is going to do? That Cancer is going to up and move and go to Los Angeles if they live, in Mississippi, or if they live in Louisiana, and they're going to move to California just to prove to their parents, I did it. Even if they don't become a famous singer or whatever, they did it just to prove I'll do what I want. So that's kind of another thing that comes along with Cancers. They, like I said, it's always a family first thing, but they don't want their dreams to be shot down by somebody else, is what it is. The best phrase I've ever heard from a Cancer constantly, which is from a movie, but I hear it a lot from Cancer. The frame of dream it, don't dream it, just be it. So that is the point of, like, where I was saying, like, if someone said, oh, well, you can't go to California and be a musician, and they're saying, well, I'm not going to just dream that I'm going to be one. I am going to be one, and I'll show you I'm going to be one. So that's Cancer's attitude. So that's where they can come off a little bit arrogant and whatnot. But she did buck back the system, as far as, like, she was one of the first of many who worked with other AIDS patients to show that there was no harm by shaking these individuals' hands or anything like that. So she broke that stigma. So, again, they can be very judged for some of their behavior, but when you look at it, Princess Diana did a lot of things and opened a lot of doors for us that really helped us, I think, as a whole. So, but of course, the royal household did not like that. So that was why that's why she divorced off. Of course, Charles was cheating too, with Camille or Camilla or whatever her name was, which is who he's married to now, I believe. But she didn't agree with the old school rules that they tried to enforce on her. So she decided to walk away from that. So, and like I said, and you don't have to know her. And that's another good point about cancers. When you saw, and that was my point of when you saw her interviews and when you saw her talk, you could feel the love of her come through the computer and that she truly believed in what she said. The emotions came through. So that is her water sign. So you knew that she was passionate and emotional and loved what her work was. So that stood out a lot about her in her interviews and still does to this day when you watch them. She had very much emotion. She was quiet. She was soft-spoken, but she got her point across of what she really, truly felt. And you have to remember, again, with the gone wrong, you don't want your emotions to ever really drive your 3D body. You always want, everybody's going to get emotional at some point about something and say, I don't like this or I don't like that. But it's basically saying, like, you really have to take a step back and think about before you say or do something. And the problem with water signs is that, not the problem, the karma they have is when they enter this life as a water sign. Much like earth signs have to balance their thoughts out. Fire signs have to balance their actions out. Air signs have to balance their thoughts and actions out because they think and then they act upon things without really thinking about it. But then with cancers or any type of water signs, their emotions need to be balanced. And that's kind of why they've come in as a water sign. So they are ruled by the moon. So that's why water signs can be one day really friendly and one day not so much because it's kind of like low tide and high tide. And how many times a day does that happen? So that's kind of how you got to look at water signs who have a lot of it in their chart, especially the sun and rising and even in their moon, because they're going to be pulled by the moon cycles. So whatever the moon cycles are doing, it's kind of going to be how they're behaving. And that's why I'm using this wave type thing, because they're on a wave. They're like on a roller coaster, basically, of emotions. And the moon cycles help run it. So, hey, Mystic, how are you? Thank you for stopping by. Hi, Erica, by the way. No, it's fine if you're late. I actually had a reading that I did that ran behind. So it was okay. And then I have one more reading to do later, but we will be doing a short live later. But yeah. So I basically just have one more reading and then my live tonight to work on. But I wanted to do this again for the class. Like I said, I did mean to make it unlisted, but because I was running behind, I forgot to hit the unlisted button. So, but again, like I said, as long as everybody's in here, being positive and supportive of each other, then, welcome everybody. So right now we're still talking about cancers, and it's very essential. Like, cancers won't admit it. Cancers usually have very high anxiety and depression, and that's because of their emotions and not really being able to balance that out sometimes, at least some of the cancers I know. So that's why sometimes they'll tell you, especially Pisces, at least from when you look them up, I don't know much what Scorpios do, but I did read a lot about Pisces. They will self-medicate a lot because, and that's just something you can look up on your own if you'd like. And it is in most astrology books or anything that you look up. Their emotions are very strong. And that's like anybody, I mean, that's like when someone gets off of work and they go, oh, I'm going to go have a drink. I had a bad day. Well, technically Pisces might have like 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 instead of just that 1 or 2 to kind of take the edge off. You know what I mean? Now Scorpios, I don't know. I know a Scorpio and they don't drink or do anything. So I don't know. But then I know a Cancer like I said, who likes to do those things, but they stay at home and they don't leave. So they're very much reclusive. So again, it depends on the signs. Like I said, even though they're in the same elements, they still very much possess different things. So let me make sure I'm not missing anybody because I did get a text. Okay. I'll get with that after this. And welcome, Sabrina. You're welcome. Well, I actually meant to make it unlisted, and I sent out the emails to the people with the with the link, but I was in such a rush because I was running behind from I had a reading that I wanted to get done so I could do another reading later, and so before I did my live, so I kind of forgot to make it unlisted. But again, I mean, like I said, this is stuff I don't mind sharing. This is stuff that I've learned over the years since I was 18. I'm gonna be 34 this year, so this is just kind of. There's a lot of stuff to know. So basically we're doing 6 signs. So we're already an hour in and we're actually only on the second sign. So that's what I'm saying. And this is just kind of a rundown of what the signs mean. It's not even everything. It's not even the career, all of the love, all of the health, all of the gone wrong, all of the gone right. It's just a basic rundown right now is what we're doing. And then that'll help us when we go to learn tarot. So that way you kind of at least know what these signs are made of and what they possess individually. Now, again, I know we talked about cancers can be oversensitive at times and sometimes insecure. But, again, it comes off to other people that way because they're very, very protective. That's why they are very much homebodies. They don't want people in their space. They don't like it. And so that can make it seem like they're insecure. So that can